Ladies and gentlemen, you ever met a man who doesn't say much, but you feel something every time he looks at you? See, a lot of brothers out here, they don't always speak love the way you expect. They don't always say, "Baby, I love you." Sometimes their love shows up in silence. You just got to know how to listen when he ain't saying a word. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something right now. In this world we live in, everybody wants to hear, "I love you," every 5 minutes. They want the text messages, the poems, the captions on Instagram. But see, love, real love, it doesn't always sound like that. Sometimes love don't make a sound at all. Sometimes the love shows up at 6 in the morning when your tire's flat, and that man's out there in the cold, changing it without saying a word. That's love talking. But it ain't no microphone, no background music. It's quiet. It's action. You got to understand something about a man's heart. Most men were not raised to express their emotions freely. We were taught to be providers, protectors, problem solvers. You cry too much, they say you soft. You talk too about your feelings, they call you weak. So a man grows up learning to do love more than to say love. His hands speak for his heart. His effort speaks for his emotions. So when you see that man getting up early to make sure your car's got gas, or staying up late to fix something in the house, or walking on the outside of the sidewalk, that ain't just manners. That's his way of saying, "I got you." You see, when a man truly loves you, he moves differently. He doesn't need to announce it to the world. He just starts showing up where you need him most. He pays attention to the details that matter to you. You might not even notice it at first because it's not loud. It's not flashy. But when you sit back and look, you realize that man been loving you the whole time, not with words, but with presence. Every little gesture is his way of saying, "You're safe with me." And I know some ladies might say, "But Steve, I need him to say it. I need to hear it." I get that. Words are powerful, but actions are the foundation. Words can lie, actions can't. You can tell somebody you love them 1,000 times, but if your actions don't match, those words are empty. A man can whisper sweet nothings all day and still walk away when things get hard. But that quiet man, the one who don't talk too much, the one who just does what needs to be done, that's the man whose love is real. He don't need to perform it. He just lives it. You'll know a man's love by how he prioritizes you. He won't always say, "You mean the world to me." But you'll notice he makes time for you, even when he's tired. He'll check on you when you didn't even ask. He'll notice the things that bother you and try to make them easier. That's a man communicating love the only way he knows how. And listen, sometimes that man's silence isn't because he doesn't care. It's because he's thinking, planning, trying to build something that'll make your life better. He may not have the right words, but he's working to create a reality that shows his love every single day. Ladies, I need you to understand this, men. Don't fall in love through words. They fall in love through proof. When a man loves you, he invests his energy in you. He'll sacrifice comfort, sleep, pride, and time just to make sure you're okay. That's the language of a man in love. It ain't flowery. It ain't poetic. It's practical, steady, reliable. You won't always get a love song, but you'll get consistency. And consistency is where love lives. Let me give you an example. A man who loves you won't let you walk into a storm alone. You might not hear him say, "I'll protect you." But when the rain comes, he's already standing beside you with the umbrella. When life gets rough and you start to feel weak, that man's the one picking up the slack, carrying what you can't. He might not make a speech about it, but he'll do it without hesitation. Because his love doesn't need recognition, it just needs purpose. See, some of y'all are missing good men because you're waiting on the performance instead of seeing the proof. You're waiting for the poem when the poem is already being written in his actions every single day. You're waiting for him to hold your hand in public when he's been holding your world together in private. Don't miss the message because it didn't come in the language you expected. When a man truly loves you, his silence is filled with meaning. Every look, every gesture, every favor, it all says something. He opens doors because he respects you. He listens when you speak because he values you. He shows up when you need him because he loves you. That's love. But it don't always come with an announcement. Now, I'm not saying words don't matter. They do. A man should learn to express love with both his voice and his actions. But when those words ain't there, don't overlook what's real, because some men have never been taught how to say, I love you, but they know how to be, I love you. Their love language is responsibility, loyalty, consistency, protection. That's how a man who truly loves you moves. And I'll tell you something else. When a man acts out of love, it's not always convenient. He might have had a long day, might be exhausted, might even be frustrated. But if he loves you, he'll still show up. That's what separates real love from talk. Love doesn't quit because it's tired. It doesn't disappear because it's inconvenient. It stands firm. It acts even when it's hard. And that's why I tell people, watch when he does, when it ain't easy. That's when you see the truth. Love is a verb. It's what you do, not what you say. If a man tells you, but doesn't back it up with actions, you're dealing with talk, not truth. But if a man's love shows up in his presence, his effort, his protection, that's the kind of love that don't fade when things get rough. That's the kind of love that stands the test of time. So ladies, stop doubting that quiet man. Stop wondering if he loves you just because he ain't saying it every minute. Look at how he treats you. Look at how he makes sure you're good, how he checks on you, how he sacrifices for you. Look at the consistency in his effort. That's love. That's how a man's heart speaks. He might not always say, I love you, but his actions are screaming it loud enough for the whole world to see. Because when a man truly loves you, he doesn't need to announce it. He just shows it. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something about love. Anybody can say, I love you once. Anybody can make a promise in the heat of the moment, whisper sweet words when the mood feels right, or post something cute on social media. But that ain't love. That's a performance. Love, real love, shows up every single day, even when the stage is gone, the lights are off, and nobody's clapping. That's where you find the truth. Consistency, that's the heartbeat of love. See, consistency means doing what you said you would do long after the feeling that made you say it has passed. It's easy to be romantic in the beginning. It's easy to say, good morning, beautiful, when the relationship is fresh. But real love is proven 6 months later, a year later, when life gets heavy, when stress kicks in, when the fun fades, and all that's left is the daily grind. That's when you see who's really in it with you. A man who truly loves won't just talk about how much he cares. He'll show up over and over again, even when it's not convenient. He won't pick and choose when to be loving. He'll be steady. He'll be present. He'll make sure you know where you stand. C. Consistency is love's proof. It's what separates somebody who's playing with your emotions from somebody who's protecting them. Now, I've seen folks fall in love with words. He said the right things. He wrote the perfect texts. He told you what you wanted to hear. And for a minute, it felt real. But then the words faded, the action slowed down, and the consistency disappeared. You start wondering, what happened? Nothing happened. The words were never built on anything solid, because love without consistency is just noise. It sounds good, but it don't last. You can't measure love by what people do when it's easy. You measure it by what they do when it's hard. Anybody can stay when the road is smooth, but real love sticks around when life gets bumpy. That's why I say, don't listen to the person who talks the most. Watch the one who shows up the longest. That's where your heart is safe. See, consistency is not about perfection. It's about effort. A man who truly loves you might not always get it right, but he'll keep trying. He won't disappear when things go wrong. He'll stay in the fight. He'll check himself, fix his mistakes, and come back stronger. Because love that's real has discipline. It doesn't run. It doesn't hide. It works. Let me tell you something. Love isn't built in grand gestures. It's built in the small, repeated actions that say, I'm here. It's built in showing up every day with respect, honesty, and effort. It's calling when you say you will. It's remembering the things that matter to your partner. It's listening, even when you're tired. It's protecting their peace, even when you don't feel like talking. That's consistency. That's love in motion. And I know some of y'all been fooled by the talkers. You met somebody who swept you off your feet, said all the right things, made you feel like you were in a movie. But then reality showed up, and the consistency disappeared. That's because talk is cheap when it's not backed by character. You want to know if somebody really loves you. Stop listening and start watching. Watch how they treat you when nobody's looking. Watch how they act when there's nothing to gain. Watch how they handle you when you're not easy to love. That's where truth lies. When love is real, it's not a performance. It's a pattern. It's not built on emotion alone. It's built on commitment. And consistency is the proof of that commitment. That's why when a man truly loves you, he's not just there when it's fun. He's there when it's uncomfortable. He's not just talking about forever. He's doing the daily work that builds it. He's steady in his effort, even when his words are few. And you can tell when a man's love is consistent because it brings peace, not confusion. When someone's words and actions line up, your spirit rests. You don't have to chase reassurance. You don't have to wonder what they mean. You just know. That's the power of consistency. It eliminates doubt. It builds trust. It makes love feel safe. Now let me speak to the men for a second. Fellas, listen. Your woman don't need you to be perfect. She don't need poetry every day. What she needs is to know you mean what you say. If you tell her you'll do something, do it. If you make a promise, keep it. If you say you'll be there, show up. Every time you keep your word, you're building something stronger than romance. You're building trust. And trust is the foundation of love. The truth is, consistency is not glamorous. It's not loud. It's not always exciting, but it's sacred. It's the quiet kind of love that lasts through storms. It's what keeps two people connected when life tries to pull them apart. You don't need to be the most romantic man in the room. Be the most reliable. That this world is not, that last ain't about how good it looks on the outside. It's about how safe it feels on the inside. A man who's consistent is a man you can build with. You don't have to question his loyalty because his actions answer that question every day. You don't have to wonder if he's serious because his consistency already proved it. That's why I tell people, don't fall for the fast talker. Fall for the steady walker. The one who moves with intention, who builds slowly but surely, who makes you feel secure in silence. That's love. You'll know it's real when the words fade, but the effort stays. When the flowers stop coming, but the respect doesn't. When the excitement quiets down, but the commitment gets stronger. That's the rhythm of true love. Steady, sure, consistent. Because love is not proven in the grand beginnings, but in the faithful middles and the loyal endings. It's proven in showing up when it's tough, choosing each other over and over again, and never letting the effort die. That's the kind of love that stands tall when everything else falls apart. That's the kind of love that don't need to be spoken every day, because you can see it, you can feel it, you can trust it. That's why when you find someone whose love is consistent, cherish that. Because in a world full of talkers, the one who shows up is the one who truly loves you. Ladies and gentlemen, you ever been with a man who goes quiet sometimes? He's not angry, not distant, just silent. And you start wondering, what's he thinking? Why won't he talk? Did I do something wrong? But let me tell you something. A man's silence doesn't always mean something's missing. Sometimes silence means there's a whole lot going on. Sometimes that quiet is full of love, full of responsibility, full of thought. Because when a man truly loves you, this silence can mean depth. He might not be saying much, but in his mind, he's thinking, protecting, and planning for the both of you. See, women are built to express. Talk it out. You release what you feel. That's how you process. But most men were raised in a different language. We were told, handle it. We were told to fix things, not feel them. So when life gets heavy, we don't always talk. We retreat into thought. That's where we do our work. That's where we find our solutions. And when a man loves you, that silence is often him figuring out how to make sure you stay good, how to keep you safe, how to protect what y'all are building. It's not emptiness. It's effort in disguise. See, love for a man isn't just about emotions. It's about responsibility. When he says he loves you, that means he's taken it on himself to make sure you're all right. So when he's quiet, don't think he's disconnected. He's often calculating, strategizing, trying to make life smoother for you. He might be wondering, how can I fix this? How can I provide more? How can I make sure she never has to worry? That's love, but it's the kind that doesn't make noise. It's quiet, heavy, and deep. Sometimes a man's silence is his protection, because a real man knows that words have power. He knows that if he speaks too soon or in the wrong way, he could hurt the woman he loves. So instead of arguing, instead of reacting, he chooses silence until he can speak with respect. That's not avoidance. That's discipline. That's emotional maturity. A man who truly loves you knows when to hold his tongue, because he'd rather bite back his pride than break your peace. That's not weakness. That's love with wisdom. And let's be real. Sometimes that man is silent because he's carrying battles you don't even see. He's thinking about how to keep the bills paid, how to provide stability, how to stay strong when life's beating him down. He doesn't bring it all to you, not because he doesn't trust you, but because he doesn't want to worry you. He's protecting you from his storms. That silence isn't distance. It's a shield. It's him saying, baby, I got this. We got him to say it. You got to understand something about a man in love. He doesn't just think for himself anymore. His world now includes you. So when he's sitting there quiet, lost in thought, he's not drifting away. He's mentally building a future. He's running through the details, how to make life better, how to fix what's broken, how to give you more security, more peace, more love. That's not emotional absence. That's emotional investment. His silence is where he builds the blueprint for your happiness. Now, lady, I know that silence can be confusing, especially when your love language is communication. You want to talk it out. You want to hear him express what's on his mind. But you got to give that man space to process in his own way. Because some men don't speak until they've sorted their thoughts. They don't open their mouth until they've found a solution. That's how they were built. They solve before they speak. So when you see him quiet, don't assume he's shutting you out. Sometimes he's preparing what to say carefully so that when he does speak, it comes from clarity, not confusion. And when a man loves you, this silence doesn't mean indifference. It often means he's studying you. He's paying attention to your moods, your habits, your needs. He might not ask a lot of questions, but he's watching, learning how to love you better. That quiet man notices the things you think he missed. The tone in your voice, the look in your eyes, the small things that tell him how you're really doing. He listens in silence. Because sometimes love's deepest understanding doesn't come from talking, but from observing. Let me tell you something. A loud man might give you words, but a wise man gives you results. A real man doesn't announce what he's going to do. He just does it. His silence is filled with action. You might not hear him talk about his plans, but soon you'll see him moving differently. He's handling business. He's improving himself. He's preparing for something greater. And when he finally speaks, it's not just talk. It's truth backed by work. That's the beauty of a man's quiet love. It's rooted in purpose. He doesn't need to prove it every second. He's too busy building it, and sometimes that building requires silence. Because while the world is loud with distractions and opinions, that man's silence is his focus. It's his way of tuning everything out so he can make sure he's creating something real for you. So when you see that man sitting there quiet, don't rush to fill the space. Sometimes love needs a little room to breathe. Let that silence work. Let him think. Let him process. Because when he comes back to you, he'll come back stronger, more grounded, more certain of how to love you right. That's the power of a man's silence. It refines his purpose, sharpens his direction, and deepens his connection to you. Now don't get me wrong. Not every quiet man is deep. Some are just detached. But when a man truly loves you, you'll feel the difference. His silence won't feel cold. It'll feel safe. You won't feel ignored. You'll feel protected. Because even without words, his energy tells you, you're not alone. I'm here. That kind of silence speaks louder than 1,000 promises. Love doesn't always have to be spoken to be real. Sometimes it's in the quiet moments. When he pulls you close but says nothing. When he listens instead of interrupting. When he chooses peace over pride. That's a man loving you in silence, not because he doesn't have words, but because his actions already said it all. His quiet is full of intention. So when a man truly loves you but goes silent, don't rush to interpret it as distance. Learn to listen differently. Sometimes the loudest "I love you" is spoken in the spaces between words, in the stillness and the thoughtfulness, in the planning. That silence can be the sound of love thinking, love protecting, love preparing. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the deepest kinds of love there is. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something that separates a man who likes you from a man who loves you. It's how much attention he pays. A man who truly loves you studies you. He don't just see you, he observes you. He watches the way you move, the way you react, the things that make you smile, and the things that break your spirit. He learns you, not because you asked him to, but because he wants to. That's love in its purest